What is up, lads and lasses? Back at it again, and we are going to do a Kurulus Orhan Season 2 review. And right off the get-go, I want to say it was a pretty strong episode. The first, quarter was kind of boring, but then everything after that picked up and did really, really well. Now, I want to start off by saying, Bursa, the way that they displayed that setting was absolutely incredible. They had so many different shots, so many different angles, so many different locations within Bursa and outside of Bursa, making it feel like a real living, breathing city, a bustling city where there are so many different stories that our characters could, go across. So it was really cool. I mean, the exterior, right? The siege that they have set up, Bursa looks like a real castle. What I like about it is that it's a real physical set. So it's not like we're relying on sneaky angles and CGI. No, it's there, right? There is, of course, a little CGI on the left and the right, but it's barely noticeable because it's supplementing a huge practical set. So there's a lot of cool scenes and cool setups they can do there. And then Bursa itself, I love that it's not just one small location, one small area, like how they did Enagol. It was one exterior area, right? The courtyard, and then the interior, right? The Lord's Hall, where Nicola was always laughing and saying Severim, Ben Severim, everything, right? So they have many different locations in the inside, right? The hall, the dungeon, the courtyard, the city itself, so on and so forth. And so, yeah, I think that's just something that really makes you feel immersed in the episode, and just a key highlight for me throughout this episode. Now, the first half is kind of weak. They just show Osman incredibly sick and weak, and I think this is one of my least favorite things that is going on with the show currently, is that old man Osman is being portrayed as really inept and decrepit. So it's a little unfortunate. It's going to be hard to come back from, and as a matter of fact, I don't think they're going to make him come back and get strong or anything. I think he's just going to probably die within the next few episodes, because what would be the point, right? I think they're planning to just get the whole Orhan, Alauddin, the conflict of the heir to the throne out of the way. And that brings me to my next topic, which is Alauddin. Alauddin is also being shown as kind of a fumbling, weak, incompetent fool, right? He's just an average dude. He's always kind of confused. He doesn't really have any smart moves or plans, so they're not really showing him as a good, strong character besides Orhan, when in fact, in history, Orhan and Alauddin were both equally as competent and capable, and Alauddin was actually the mastermind of the kind of beginning of the empire, so much so that he was able to give up his own ego for the greatness of the empire. Do you know how hard that is, especially back then? What level of intelligence and ego, natural insight and foresight, and how much of a visionary you have to be able to say, yeah, look, I don't need to be the big boss of everything. I'll be the advisor, and I'll ensure that this empire grows. In the past, when everyone kind of was reaching for power, especially when you were at the precipice of a great emirate like the early Osman Empire was. So yeah, Alauddin needs to be done justice in this show. Now, Orhan and Co. and his buddy blah blah blah. I don't know what kind of an Alp this is, man. Orhan's Alps are absolutely NPCs, nobody. They got some Sachuvish from Tibu, and they got this guy blah 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 with a do-rag. And then they have freaking Ali, or whatever the hell his name is, and he's supposed to be an intelligent aide, but again, he's just a nobody with no presence, no aura. So I don't like his Alps, but the covert operation they went through was really cool. I really like that scene where Cherkutai facilitates the prisoner trade deal with the Tekfur, and Orhan and Co. just kind of sneak, from the backside of the castle, climbing up this hill or mountain, and sneaking in. That was pretty cool to me. We then get an introduction to Temurtash, the new Mongol, who was actually a realistic character in the past. We can go through the history. I think I went through it last episode. So I honestly liked his introduction. It was pretty cool. He's a different type of Mongol, and he kind of has Persian characteristics, which I think is meant to be the case. That is a purposeful decision. He's like a Mongol Nicola. He has these funny like characteristics and traits that make him unique and memorable. And he's not like the typical, Mongol that throws around his weight and bosses everybody around. Yeah, he has like a temper tantrum here and there, but I would say he's still a smarter, like he's a well like tempered character, who has strong plans and a good vision. And I just like this character overall. It was a cool character, so he's definitely gonna be memorable for me. He's not gonna be like this, super cool like Mongol that we typically get, but he's gonna be like Nicola in essence. One thing I didn't really understand about how Orhan infiltrated the castle was how easily they were able to like take out soldiers without being spotted. It's like all the like soldiers within the castle have like tunnel vision, number one, and number two, I would think that in a castle like that, every corner of this castle would be constantly monitored by multiple different soldiers. So there shouldn't be like even like a 5-second window where somebody can knock somebody out and not be spotted or seen. So they kind of like jump through some hoops there within the production. Not very good in my opinion. One really strong scene for me was the meeting between Temurtash, the governor, and Aladdin and Shahin Shah. Shahin Shah continues to steal every single scene for me. His chuckles and jokes like throughout the entire show kind of showed power, right? It showed like this presence that the Ottomans are kind of starting to feel a bit more leverage over the Mongols and the Byzantines. Two of the powers that for the longest time were the dominating forces of those areas, but they're starting to crack, right? The Ottomans are starting to feel confident to where they don't need to pay taxes, or they don't need to listen to every little thing the Mongols say, where they can disobey them in front of their faces, even insult them. And you can see Timurtash, like he's like really holding in his temper, his anger, but I like that he doesn't throw a tantrum or just start slaughtering like randoms. But I also at the same time, maybe he just can't. Maybe these are all resources that he cannot afford to lose, like all the envoys of the Karasids, the Karamids, and the Germians, right? I feel like if it was a Mongol from Kurulus Orhan or Ertugrul at the time when Mongols were at the height of their power, and they would have just slaughtered them and said, yeah, bring me some other guys, these guys are bums. But it was an interesting like power dynamic and a nice little political dispute. I also liked that they showed that each side, whether it was the governor, the Mongol, or the Turk, they were kind of like, showing their ego a bit and throwing like jabs and insults at each other, but it was still a very level-headed conversation. And the result was nothing, right? The result stayed the same. Nothing changed about their meeting, but it was cool to see that they had that meeting. And it was, I think, one of my favorite scenes because it also established a lot of the personalities of all those characters. So it was cool to see. Another favorite scene was the scene when Flavius was escorting Boran out for the prisoner exchange with the Tekfur, and they were discussing the Tekfur's father's death. And Boran has absolutely no reason to lie here, and it's quite clear and obvious to Flavius, and you could see the cracks in Flavius's like mindset, in his determination to just hate blindly. And the Tekfur tries to, at the very hint of that, tries to stop it. He shuts Boran up. Obviously, clearly, the Tekfur had something to do with Flavius's father's death. And I think that that's going to be revealed in the future. Now, whether or not that makes Flavius become a good guy or a bad guy, I don't know. But what I do know and what I do like is that they're making Flavius a very multifaceted character. He's not just your typical 2D villain. Now, I don't like that he got like beat up at the dungeon, by Orhan. I really hated that. But it's fine. I'm not going to be too nitpicky about that. And finally, the prisoner exchange occurs. The trap that Flavius tried to set fails. Shahin Shah chuckling, his plan going to the course. They absolutely stop Flavius's charge. Flavius gets knocked out by an arrow. I love that. Like super creative cinematography and choreography. That was like a really cool thing to see. And it was really cool to see Shahin Shah just kind of revel in his victory, right? He's laughing, he's smiling. They're shooting arrows. They're thwarting the raid that the Byzantine tried to sneakily trap them with. Obviously, it's due to Orhan's reveal of that, since he gained some information while sneaking around the castle. But still, it was really cool to see, Shahin Shah kind of be really happy about the way things are going. And then the way that he like kind of like boasts and claims victory and says, you guys see how the moment that I become commander, everything goes well. So it was cool. Again, Shaheen Shah is also another cool multifaceted character, because even in his conversations with his wife in his own private tent, you can see he doesn't have like actual evil intentions, right? Yeah, he has some underhanded like tactics and ways to kind of steer politics and things in his flavor, but everything is literally only for the benefit of the tribe itself, right? He's not trying to become the Bey, right? He's not trying to become the leader of the tribe or steal anyone's power. He just wants Aladdin to become the leader, because he sees Aladdin as a more level-headed and cool, calm and collected person that will listen to Shaheen Shah as an advisor. Again, as an advisor, not as a person who's in power by proxy, right? And similarly, he's trying to get Fatima Hatun married to his son, to kind of strengthen like familial ties and that kind of thing. So but yeah, no, like the cool thing about him is that he's not just like a villain who just lusts for power. He is a level-headed dude, smart, intelligent, and he has his own way of or his own vision of the way that things should go, and he sees Orhan as a threat, which honestly, like, I can see why, right? The guy is kind of impulsive, hot-tempered, and at a critical stage of an emirate like this, some people are not inclined towards that. However, in my opinion, similar to Ertugrul and Osman, you kind of have to have that fire in the belly in order to be able to break through the barriers of creating such a great empire or doing anything great in general. So yeah, this honestly, the episode, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think I gave like the episode 1 a 7 out of 10. I wouldn't say that this episode was better than episode 1. I would say episode 1 was more extravagant, right? But episode 2 was at least like the last 75% were a lot more tightly written and interesting. So 7 out of 10. I'm only taking away points because I still do see some of the repeated mistakes that kind of plagued Osman that we all don't like. Like, for example, some of the female drama is just way over the top. Aladdin and a lot of like characters that are just like meaningless, right? Where the heck is Jerkutai's son, for example? There's just some things that I really don't like, but I feel like that they could fix things. So very exciting. That's about it for me, guys. Peace.